Hey guys, it's April. We are going to be making our Advent box. Yay, I finally got my maker replaced. So we are going to be making the Advent box, and I just want to cover some tools and things that you guys are going to need to do this project. Now I have the file set up, and we'll pop over there in just a moment, and I will show you in the file the options. But I just wanted to cover everything first. To do the version that I'm doing, you are going to need your knife blade with your Cricut Maker. So you're going to need your adaptive tool, the knife blade. You are going to need either your roller or a squeegee, or you can use your spatulas, anything like that you have, your scrapers. You can use those. I am using papers. I've already picked my papers out. I did that while I was waiting on my maker to arrive. You are going to need any paper pack that you want. Now I'm using the Graphics 45 12 Days of Christmas because I plan on reusing this year after year. And it has some nice elements in it. It's got some chipboard elements in it as well, which you'll be seeing when we start putting this together. I'm going to be using the 1.5 millimeter. You can use the 2 millimeter. If you don't have a maker and you want to use the Explore Air, I'm going to say just cut these panels twice from a cereal box or either craft board, something heavy, and then glue those together to get your thickness and to make it sturdy. And then you can make those as well. But I am going to be using chipboard. Because I'm using chipboard, I am going to need a strong grip purple matte and some painter's tape because we have to tape those down. Now remember that your chipboard is an 11 by 11 material. That's the widest that your maker can cut on this is the 11 by 11. And that is because we have to move all of our white star wheels all the way to the right. If you've got a new machine, they may be a little bit stiff. You can push them. They will loosen up over time. So just push those all the way to the right so that you don't damage your chipboard. And if you're using an Explorer, I'm going to say go ahead and move those over for that too so that it doesn't indent your cereal box. So going to have that 12 by 12 paper, and I think I'm using all in all decorative paper. I think it was 8 sheets for boxes, and then 2 sheets for the inside decorative and 2 sheets for the outside decorative. So that's 8, 9, 10, about 12 sheets of your 12 by 12 decorative paper. Now mine's double-sided, so mine's going to be pretty when the boxes open up and things like that as well. I have in the file, and I'll show that to you guys in just a moment, set up, I am using 12 by 24 paper that I got from Cricut because this is going to be the outside of my box and this is going to be the inside of my box. I am going to go with this gold, which a lot of people may not like this color, but it does match all of my papers inside and out. They may not be appearing as yellow on camera as some of the yellow is in here. This is more of a yellow tone to it rather than an ivory on these. So maybe I can get it close and you can see it a little bit better. But that color, I laid my colors out against this paper, and this color worked a lot better. And I'm going to be using the chipboard piece that came in it, and you can see it kind of lays on there and it kind of matches a little bit more. This is a little brighter than what that is, but when they're laying next to each other, they look just alike. So don't try to match up sometimes right on it. It may show a difference in color. So if you match up close to it and you look at it, you can do that. But it would look pretty with several different colors. Like I said, mine's double-sided and I've already picked all of my colors, and so I'm just going to go with the yellow. This came out of the Scentsy sampler, the 12 by 12 Cricut, and that's what I'm going to be using. So if you're going to be using the 12 by 24 paper version, you will need a 12 by 24 mat to cut this on. I have seen some people saying, oh, I just taped 2 mats together because I didn't have a 12 by 24. Guys, I don't advise that. And I'm just going to show you why. When you tape two mats together, even if you put this hole, one on each end, when you tape those two mats together, you're going to have an area that is no longer sticky on part of that. There's no way to avoid it. Even if you bring it all the way up to this here, your other mat's going to have that edge that has no stick. If your paper's cutting over that, your paper can shift. It can make it lift up off the mat and the blade will drag it from the sticky part. And it can get caught in the roller of your machine. It can damage your machine. It is misuse of the machine. Misuse of your machine can void your warranties. So please, please, please do not attempt to do that, okay? Invest in a 12 by 24 mat. You can use them for a while. They'll stay sticky for a good long time. So if you get the 12 by 24 green mats, you can use those and not void your warranties out. So that being said, I'm going to show you guys how to prepare your mat. Some of you who have worked with chipboard before and your knife blade, you already know this. Your knife blade is not a quick swap housing, okay? It doesn't have the button on the top. Your quick swap housings do. The only two that we have at this point that don't have those are your rotary blade and your knife blade. So you're going to need your knife blade. If you're using cereal box, I'm going to suggest you use the deep cut blade, but I have cut some of it using my regular blade. So if you're using like craft board and you're doing 2 or 3 layers of craft board, you can use a regular blade to cut those. And you can skip this step if you're doing that. You can see I cut into my mat a little bit there on one project, but I'm still going to use my mat. Let me grab my chipboard here. We're just going to take our chipboard out and make sure that you open up your pack of chipboard and that you let your chipboard acclimate. And what that means is you need to open it up, unwrap it from the plastic wrapper, and let it set for 24 hours. Just so the humidity in the room, if it's going to swell or do anything funky, that it goes ahead and does that before you try to cut it, because you don't want to cut it and then it happen. Okay, so you're just going to stick it down, and I like to use my roller just to make sure that my material is on that mat really, really, really well. Okay, and then I'm just going to take some painter's tape. You can use masking tape, you can use washi tape, use what you have. And I'm just going to bring it right up to the edge of my mat, just so I don't have a whole lot of stick on this.
I couldn't hear what you said.
My watch went off. So now we're going to go to the other side, and we're going to tape down there as well. And I'm going to show you a tip and trick on how to peel your tape off without peeling your chipboard. You want to go nice and slow and come from the inside out rather than trying to peel it from the outside in. Okay? So when you peel your tape, just be careful and you won't tear it. And if you do have a little place that lifts, we have a fix for that too. And I'm just going to tape it all the way around. Now, some people go and they tape all the way around. I am not cutting anything intricate. Everything is square. Okay? So there's no need. We just don't want it to shift. Then we're going to send this over to the maker and we're going to cut it. So while this is cutting, I'm going to go and show you guys the file, and we're going to talk about that for a moment. Okay, so here is our canvas, and we have our project open. This is the advent calendar. This red piece is going to be, I'm just going to ungroup here. This, there we go. All right, so I have this set to draw. You can score it, you can draw it, you can do whatever you want. You can leave that part off. It is just a placement guide. It is not written in stone because depending on what material you use, you may need to finagle just a little bit on there, and you'll see that here in just a little bit. But I'm going to leave that set. Actually, I think I'm going to change that to score. I think I meant to do that. I just had it on draw because I wanted to be able to make sure I had it in the right spots on the canvas. So if you guys want yours to draw rather than to score, you can do that. I'm just afraid it might bleed through the paper with my glue, so I am going to change mine to score. I want all of that to score. All right, and then I'll resave this. So this is my back cover piece. This is what we're going to glue our chipboard to. I'm going to arrange and move that to the back. And then these two pieces are going to be inside to hide the spine on the inside. We're going to use those for that. Then this color here, these are our chipboard pieces. So if you're cutting out of craft board or cereal box, you may need to cut 2, maybe even 3 layers, depending on how sturdy you want yours to be. Again, I'm using the 1.5 millimeter chipboard instead of the 2 millimeter, and that's just because I have this on hand and it was already open and acclimated. Then we have this piece. These are your decorative cover pieces for the inside. And I have left off my decorative pieces so you guys get to see me do a little bit of design here. So these are going to be your inside decorative pieces, and they are scored to hold your little boxes for the Advent, okay? Now this is a large file, guys, so I don't have any numbers or anything done on this. I am going to do a separate file for those, and I will have that file up, or you can pick your own numbers and things like that. I don't even know that I'm going to number mine, but I will pick some out for you guys. I'm going to arrange and move that to the front, and you can see that I have attached here 24 total needed. Rather than duplicate over and put a bunch of these in here and bog this file down so that it's slow loading for you guys, I just put 3 in there and I have attached them. I am going to ungroup this, and then you're going to just get rid of this or hide it, do whatever it is that you want to do. I have attached these 3 boxes because that is the only way that I could get 3 to fit on one 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So if you undo that, then you're only gonna, it's only gonna, when you hit make it, it's only gonna allow 1. And all I do when I do these is I will just cut 8 sheets. I will keep feeding it in and making sure it stays on this. I will cut these last so that my maker on the Make It screen just stays on that last one. I'll just pop over here and show you. Just pretend we hid that. So everything is here. This is going to cut on my 12 by 24 sheet. Only need 1 sheet. You need 2 sheets of chipboard because we're going to go in here, I think 2. And you're going to change that to 11 by 11. Yeah. You're going to need 2 sheets, so it will come out of there. Then when I'm cutting, when I get to this one and my machine tells me to load that, I'm going to skip it. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to cut these pieces. And once it does that, then it will revert and come back to this. And then I am just going to take that off my mat, load the next mat with my paper on there for the 3 boxes, and I'm just going to hit cut again. And it will just stay on this last one here. It won't keep moving. It will move from one mat to the next until you've cut all the mats. But if you're cutting that as your last mat, you can just keep doing that. Okay, so you need to cut that mat 8 times, because if you go over and you add it and multiply on this screen, then it's going to make 8 of all the others. Okay, so you don't want to do that. Another way around that is that you can come over here and you can hide this and hide this. Cut everything just like this. Go ahead and cut all of this. And then after you've cut it, you can hit finish and take you back over to the screen. Then you can come in here and you can hide this group of cuts. You could just hide them. Then unhide this one. Oops, I want to unhide the whole group, not one. Let's get back up there. These are groups, so if you hit just one, they're attached rather. I'm going to unhide it all. There we go. Is it going to unhide everything? I think it's just slow. There we go. I missed my group somehow. And my lines. I will get them. But anyway, you can just go in and unhide. I'm just going to undo. It's a little slow loading. I apologize because it is big. And that's what I'm trying to avoid for you guys. I don't want to bog it down any more than what it is. There we go. So you can do that and just hide them. Okay. So make sure that you're doing that. And I'm just going to put this back in its group. I hit my keyboard. I apologize. Just going to put that back, and then we're going to make our front covers. So I'm going to group that back so that we don't lose track that we need 24. And I'm going to duplicate this one. And then I am going to come in here and ungroup it. Just going to delete that one, and this one here I am going to detach because I don't need my inside one scored. I mean my outside pieces scored, and I'm going to duplicate that. So, and let's make that another color, and I'm just going to make it a light yellow because that's going to tell me that that's my front pieces so that I know to cut them out of the correct paper. There we go. And then I'm just going to align those. So you guys will have those in the file as well. And so let's go ahead and cover what you can do. I'm going to align top and group. So there's that. Now, if you are cutting out of 12 by 12 paper because you don't have 12 by 24, this back piece is the only one you're going to hide. You're just going to hide that, and you're going to come in right here. You're going to see these in this file, and you're going to unhide this group here, this whole group. I don't know why it's not doing that. But you can see here, I'm going to slide down so you guys can see. This is the one you're going to use for your 12 by 12 paper. And if I ungroup it, you'll see. And I've got those set to draw as well. Let's go ahead and change those to score. If you want to change them to draw and chance that you can. But again, some lighter papers, your glue may end up bleeding through on some papers. So make sure that you've changed yours accordingly. I'm just going to save that one this way. But there is your 12 by 12, and all you're going to do is once you've cut these two, you're going to bring this line up here. This score line is going to line up with this one, and you're just going to glue those two pieces together. Okay, so once you've glued those together, then you'll have the same single piece that we'll be working with in our file. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, guys, just message me. I'll be happy to help. I am going to hide that one in the file just so people aren't cutting unnecessary pieces. And we'll send that to the back, and that will layer it out the way that it's put together. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to cut everything, come back, and we'll assemble. Okay guys, here we are, and I have my boxes ready, and I forgot to tell you guys earlier, you're going to need some kind of a glue, and I'm going to be using art glitter glue. And I have cut all of my boxes from different colors of paper. Now I use double-sided paper so I can flip these back and forth because I want a variety. However, some of my papers are the same. It's the same pattern, just flipped over. So make sure that you are realizing that when you go put your boxes together. One thing that I wanted to show you is as you're mixing and matching, such as this, I would probably fold this one this direction. This is going to be the top of the box, just so you guys know. This tail, that is the top of the box. So you may want to look at what patterns you would want up and which one. Like this one, I probably wouldn't want the eggs showing as the top of the box, so I will fold this one in the opposite direction while I fold these two maybe in this direction, giving me a variety, and then I know that I'll have the 5 golden rings on the top of the box. So make sure that you're paying attention when you're doing those. And I'm going to speed up the camera like this one. I might do the swan on the top of that one. That one will be fine like that, even though it doesn't have the whole swan. And then I'm also going to do some with the back side. So I'm going to show you really quick. I'll just go ahead and do this one. I've got all of my pieces here. All of the boxes are going to fold the same. And I did use my double scoring wheel on mine. So use your scoring stylus, whatever you have. And you're just going to fold. And this one does have a little slit in each side here. And that's so that when you close the box, it helps hold it closed. So we're going to mountain fold everything, or fold away from you, whatever you want to call it. Or if you're doing it this way, then you'll turn it face up. But my score lines are on this side for this one, but it's okay because I'm going to be flipping them back and forth, so it doesn't really matter. And then I have the score line there. I'm just going to give it a little rub on all of those folds with your bone folder, just so you get a nice sharp edge. I'm going to fold these two. So everything is just folding right away from us. And then we're going to fold down the centers. So that's going to kind of create your box there. Then you're going to take your glue, and I'm just going to go on this tab, a little bit on this tab. I'm just going to fold that wing back there. And we're just going to make sure that we keep it nice and square. Okay, you want that edge nice and even, the back of the box with the side. Give it a second to grab, and then do the other side and do the same thing. Make sure you've got these nice and square. It's going to be very important when you go to place these in the box that in our project, that your boxes are all lined up nice and square. And then we're going to take these front 2 tabs, put a little glue on there. And those are going to go to the inside just like those. And now we're going to line up that corner on the front, so it's nice and square with that piece. And then over here. Give that a second to dry. These just fold in. They don't glue down to the inside. They just fold in. And then this piece comes right in to give it its closure. Okay? And you may have to open up your lines just a little bit there for it to grab. Super cute, super easy. You're going to fold all 24 boxes the same way. Now, if you're putting numbers on the top of yours, also pay attention to that. Again, I don't know that I'm putting numbers on the top of mine. I'm just going to do like 24 boxes. So you guys get your boxes made. I'm going to finish cutting my chipboard. We'll come back and assemble everything. Okay guys, as promised, I'm going to show you guys how I remove mine from the mat. I'm just going to kind of flip my mat over and start peeling so that it removes that tape. And I have a couple of little areas where it didn't quite cut all the way through, but it's okay. Just pull that loose. And now I'm going to, my tape missed this whole piece, but this piece here, I am going to peel from the inside and peel away. If you peel back against the edge, it will, like on this one, if I peel it this way, it's probably going to make that shred and peel it. So I'm going to peel from the inside to the outside so that that doesn't happen. Get that away. And now right there on my little bit of an edge that didn't cut quite through, you can use your knife blade. This one looks like it's going to go right on through, so I'm just going to take my knife blade rather than do another cut and let it cut into my mat on the rest of the places. I'm just going to put it on my cutting mat and just take my True Control knife and go along that back edge where I can see it and just cut through those little pieces of paper. It's better to do on your craft mat. I don't have mine here. I'll try not to go through and scar anything, but you're just going to put it on your cutting mat and pull that through just until you can get it to break loose right there. There we go. Nice clean cut. And then same here, you can just try to bend it back a little bit, and if it doesn't look like it's going to cut, just take your True Control knife right there in that little area. These are straight lines, so it's super easy to do. You can see it. Just pull it right through, just enough to get it to break loose. It's just a little, what I call a Chad hanger. It just wants to hang on that little piece. So I got one more piece like this to cut. We'll come back and we're going to complete it. Okay guys, I'm back. I've got everything cut. I've got all of my little boxes over here to the side. I've got them all ready to go. While I was folding them, I changed my design. I decided that I wanted to go differently with it. And I decided I wanted to use faux leather. So if you don't have 12 by 24 paper and you have the Cricut faux leather, you can also do that. So if you do that, you will not need that extra set of panels that we did in yellow. We can use those for something else later on. So that being said, my panels that I changed to put on the inside are not scored, so I'm just going to do mine by hand, and hopefully I can get them lined up well. So I'm just going to do away with the yellow ones that I had, and I'm going to go with the faux leather ones that I have here. And I'm just going to kind of make a little bit of space here because this project is a long one because of the size. So I need a little extra room. So what we're going to do is the first thing I'm going to take my faux leather, because I couldn't score my faux leather. That is why. But I'm just going to fold it in half. Probably should have folded it. And just give it a little crease. I just need a little crease on it. And I can see that there. And I'm just going to take my, well, I say I am, my fabric pen. I moved everything. There it is. This is my fabric pen. It's washable, so it shouldn't bleed through. And I'm just going to mark a dot there showing me where that center is. Okay? We scored yours, remember, so you know where your center panel will go. And that's all that's for. So I'm just going to lay this out. I'm going to lay my pieces on the ends here so they won't keep rolling up on us. And we can work. That's the thing about the faux leather. It's on a roll, so it wants to be all roly-poly on us. So I'm just going to move that to the end. And I just want to get this centered up, and I want to leave myself about the same amount of space on each side. So that's where that one is going to go. And I'm just going to use my art glitter glue, and I'm just going to put a good amount. You don't need a ton, but I want a good amount. Okay. And I'm just going to flip that over and get that as centered as I possibly can, right there in the center. And then I'm going to take my roller. Hopefully I've got that on straight. Make sure you got it straight. And then I'm just going to press it down and kind of squish that up. Now here is my scrap from my cutting where I cut this out. No matter what materials you use, and if you layered up 2 or 3 layers of cereal box, glue 2 or 3 layers together. It doesn't have to be this wide. You just want to glue them together so you get the same thickness as your material that you're using, okay? And you want to lay that in there. And that is going to tell you where this piece goes. You want to give yourself, you don't want it jammed up tight where it's holding it up like that. You want to give it a little bit of area to relax, okay? You don't want a whole lot in there because then you'll have a gap, but you want to be able to get that piece in there comfortably, I should say. And now I'm just going to do the same thing. Don't need a ton of glue. I know this looks like a lot, but it isn't. This is a fine tip applicator. So I'm just going to put that down. Place that in, and then I'm just going to let that kind of lay and give myself a little wiggle room there with this. Get it pushed up in there. And then I'm going to make sure that it's even all the way down. And at the same height. So now we've got that piece on there, and then I'm just going to give that a rub. I'm going to distribute that glue. I'm giving it a good amount of pressure. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. It's really going to take longer for you to fold those 24 boxes than it is to do this part, literally. So we're just going to put that down right about where we think it's going to go. Make sure it's level top and bottom. We're going to wedge that piece in there. Do a little bit of play. Get them all straight. All right. And then we're going to rub that one. Okay. Now this next part's really important. You're going to need some scissors. And I don't cut this out on the file when I'm using chipboard because it depends on the area you're in, your humidity, things like that. It can all play a part in your chipboard and its thickness and how much it acclimates and things like that. So I'm just going to go in here and we're just going to snip just a little. Just cut a little V out right there. Okay? And we're going to do the same thing here. I'm not going all the way down to the board. I'm just going to flip it around and I'm going to do the same thing. And the reason I changed my mind from the paper is I wanted to do a little bit of iron on like the spine here, and I thought it would be really pretty. Just going to snip a little V right there in it. Okay? And on this next part, you're just going to clip the corner off. Now you want to leave yourself some space because you can check it and it looks like I have more than enough, so I can go a little bit closer. That's what we're doing. Just going to pull these in and you want them to kind of overlap. And just don't get too close where it leaves a hole. There we go. Perfect. Because we want the corner to look like the leather has covered it. This right here is not going to matter much. We can pull that tighter. But you want to get those as close as you can. So you're going to trim all 4 corners just like that. I'm just going to start initially and get this initial corner off of it, and then we can go from there. It's a little curved. Straight. There we go. All right. And so I'm going to take this one from the center and I'm going to pull that up right there. I'm just going to put some glue and pull that one up. And we're just going to give that a second. Now, I am using art glitter glue. If you want to use hot glue and try to smooth it out before it cools, you can. But that can get lumpy really fast with chipboard. So, just so you know on that, we're going to pull that center in. I'm just going to clip that right there. I'm going to give myself a little bit of play, a little bit off. Not a big deal. Okay, so we've got that done. And now we're going to start pulling these sides in, okay? And you want to make sure that this piece is down beside that one. You want to make sure you got a little bit of play when you're doing this. I think I want to do this piece next and then do that. No, I'm going to do this last. I'm going to go ahead and do these. Maybe wrong doing it this way, but I'm going to do it this way. Don't do your ends yet. We have another step on those. And I kind of like to lift it up and roll that over that edge, over that corner. Just get it stuck really good. You can run a bead down like that if you want to make sure it gets a good hold. And we're going to pull this one in. And you're going to do the same thing with paper. If you're using paper instead of the faux leather like I am. Squish it, glue out. You're just going to roll the edges with your roller. Just roll it nice and smooth. And get it on there. You can see I can get that closed. You have a little bit more wiggle room with faux leather than you do paper, because if your paper is too tight, when you fold this up, it can crack in the spine back here. So faux leather is going to be a nicer look anyway, but you can use paper. I have used paper. I've done it many times. Just work it while it's wet, very gently and very slowly when you're closing and opening to give it that little bit of play so you don't crack it and it stretches while it's damp. Missed my glue right there. I should have probably trimmed that off a little bit more. Check your corners. Don't do like me. Check your corners first. And it's okay if it's a little bit over. I'm just snipping this and getting it to lay flat. Okay. Just working it. If I get off camera a little bit, guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying to work this around and I have very limited space to get this in the corner. I should have clipped this like I did that first one before I got this far, but I forgot. I got in a hurry and forgot. So my corner's not going to be as clean as yours, but that's okay. I can live with it. Get them as clean as you can get them. Now, let's go ahead and do this side. Roll that up. I have to clip right here. If your book's not closing or you're not getting that play, just snip it right there. You don't want any bulk in that seam. Okay. So we got all of that done. And again, you're going to do the exact same thing I'm doing, except if you're using paper, except you're using paper. That's the only difference. Okay, next we need to bring these together, and I want to find center. I should have marked it and folded it center before I did that, but that's okay. It is 8 inches is what it is. So I want to come over 4 inches. This is an 8 by 10, guys. So I want to come to the 5-inch marks. Let's see. Why is that 11? Okay, maybe, oh, I did do it 11 inches, so it is 11. So I need to come over to the 5.5 inch mark. So I'm just going to take my marker, and if you're using paper, just use a pencil. And I'm going to mark it right about the 5.5. You just want it kind of be centered. It's actually, with that on there, 11.25. So I've got a little bit of wiggle room there. All right. And I'm just going to lift this edge up, keeping those even. I'm just going to lift this edge up. I'm going to mark it in the same spot. Okay, so now I have 2 little spots there for center. They don't have to be perfect. You can do it how you want right here. If you're using paper, you can skip this step, and you can just actually put your ribbon on the outside and glue it down, and then put your panel over the top. And when you put your panel over the top, it's going to hide that ribbon. And it's just to secure it down. But you can do it this way with the paper as well. So I'm just going to cut a little slit right there in my faux leather. And again, I didn't put this part in the file because everybody's will vary as to where that hole needs to be. When you do your widths and stuff here, it can push it out and then it would show. So you want to do that step here. And where's my ribbon? You want to put your ribbon in there at this point. And I'm just going to do, because I can trim this off, I'm probably going to do about 12 inches of ribbon on each side. Just do the same. And I'm just going to fish that right through the hole I just made. Go from either side. And I just picked this peacock ribbon from Stampin' Up! Because it looked good with all the boxes that I had, because I had such a multitude of color. So I just went with this ribbon. So I'm just going to pull that in just a little. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Pop that ribbon right in, maybe. So I'm just going to bring those in, and I am going to use a couple of glue dots, I believe. I think that it should be enough to hold it. If I can find my glue dots. They kind of went on a winter walk without me. Okay. I'll just use some double-sided tape. You can use red line tape, double-sided tape, whatever you want to use here. Just gonna throw a piece down there. I don't know what I did with my glue dots. I thought they were right here. That's all right. Okay. And then I'm just gonna peel the release liner off of it. Or try to, I should say. There we go. And I'm going to stick that ribbon down in there. And it's okay if it's off a little bit, not going to hurt anything. Stick it down really good. Okay. And now we're going to do our other glue line. Or our sides, glue our sides. Hopefully you guys can see me still. See if I can turn it this way. I'm just going to pull that in. Oopsie, I had a little place right there. I can live with it. Get yours closer than that. Make sure that you're checking it when you trim on that first trim when you do those corners. I can put a decoration or something there and hide that fact. Put a poinsettia on it. Anything. Never scrap a project for something like that. Just going to keep working that until we get it to stick. This thing works miracles. It really does. So I've got a little corner. You can see it doesn't meet. After I get my everything put together, I'll pop a little flower or something right there, and I'll hide that. So it happens, right? So now we have that. We need to do these pieces, and these are going to hide those seams right there. And that looks like it might. Just gonna make sure I can close once I get it on there. Might be a tad too long. Just gonna snip off each end. I'm just gonna hide that seam. So let's put our glue on there. And again, you want a good amount. You don't have to get it soaking wet. Just gonna rub that down. And I'm going to close it and press it at the same time. It may lift up a couple of times till it gets to drying, because we do have a good amount of glue on it. It's starting to stick. Got a little play time. And I'm just rubbing that down and rubbing it closed. Okay. Just like that. And then you could probably use fabric fuse on this too, especially for these centerpieces, and fuse them down. That will probably work well too. Just give it a minute to dry. I have that ribbon where I cut it everywhere. I forgot to trim that one off. Make sure you don't forget to trim it if it's too long. Always check your pieces before you put them down. Oops, get back up there. Want it to lay flat, not lifting anything up. I'm just gonna squish that glue in there. And then I'm gonna lift it up again. And you can run any of your tools in there. You just want to get it to where it's kind of stretching it a little bit so that you can get it open and closed. You can see how that one is. It's still wet, so if it's starting to wrinkle up, you can just rub it down and get it good and tight. And you might be able to see these glue lines and stuff in there. It will dissipate overnight. I've done this before, and it will just kind of suck in, kind of like wallpaper does sometimes. So once you've got that like you want it, just give it a good rub and let those dry. And at this point, I would probably let mine dry overnight, but since I'm shooting this video and it's already late, I'm just going to go ahead, guys. So I'm going to take my panels now, and we're going to place those onto the book here. All right, so make sure you get a good amount of glue on here, and I'm just going to put an extra line on my ribbons, okay? And we're going to bring this in and lay it on the top. Now this will be the piece that has all of the scoring on it. All right, I'm just going to rub that down and get that glue going. Make sure you get all your corners and your edges and all of that really well, okay? You want those to be covered well. Get those even. And if a little glue squishes out, don't worry about it. You can clean that off with a wet wipe. I have ribbon everywhere. Little glue squishy. Next, you're going to line up your boxes, whichever way that you want them, however you want to arrange them, but you want to make sure that your opening is to the front. And then you're going to line them up 3 across, okay, in those little areas that we had on there that you've got scored, and you're going to line up all of your rows, and you should have 12 boxes on each side. Okay, I got mine started, guys, and I thought I'd show you a few of them, how I'm gluing them down and making sure that I have my opening to the front. I just didn't want you guys sitting there watching me try to arrange which box I was going to put where and all of that good stuff and taking up a bunch of time. So I've laid out several of them to get my grid going. Yours are on your score lines. As long as you go on your score lines, you should be fine. If you want these to be opened by ribbon, rather than just sticking your finger in and opening them like this, you can cut a little hole right here on your box before you cut them and put your ribbon through there, anything that you want. But they open pretty easily. So we're going to let those dry for a second. It won't take them but just a minute. And I'm thinking I'm still going to use this on the front. I may just use the circle. Haven't decided yet. We'll see. Now when you close it, it's going to close like this, and you're going to use your ribbon. Now don't worry, you see a little bit of warping here. That's going to go away. We're just going to close this up tonight, and then I'm going to put a heavy book. Not too heavy. You don't want to crush your boxes, okay? But you want to put something on it and give that glue time to absorb and everything to suck in before you tie this. And you're just going to tie your ribbons. I'm going to trim them off and burn that so that it doesn't ravel. But you don't want to tie it until that glue has had time to settle, guys, because you don't want to create a divot there, okay? Once this dries tomorrow, I think I'm going to cut some foil. I haven't decided on this chocolate brown foil, and do some kind of vintage design on the front. And yes, you can iron right onto that. 275 for 10 seconds. And then I may put 12 Days of Christmas, or I just don't know what I'm going to put on the spine. Okay guys, here we are. I am using some Strip Flock Pro. If any of you haven't used this before, it's like a velvety or a felt-like type iron-on. I really love it for little baby onesies and things like that. I'm using my little mini, and I'm doing it on the first setting. And I just stuck it down to the front, and now I'm just going to take and cover it with my Teflon sheet, and I'm just going to go over it. Now this is going to be handled, but nobody's going to be washing it and wearing it and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go over it just a little bit. And then I'm going to check it and see if it's sticking, and it's not. So I'm just going to heat it again for a few more seconds. You don't have to heat this when you're putting it on something like this for as long as you do clothing. If you overheat or use too much pressure, then it's going to crush your boxes inside. You don't want to do that, okay, because your boxes are on the inside. Hopefully I don't have it hot enough. I'm just going to sit for a second and do it in sections. But you just do it for a few seconds at a time until it's stuck. And just go around, take your time. It will stick. And I usually peel my strip, like I believe it's warm peel on clothing, but on something like this I usually do go with the warm peel. Just check it again. My cord's in the way here. And it's sticking in most places, so I'm just going to give a few more minutes. Or not minutes, seconds. Yeah. Doesn't want to lift up. Carrier. Yeah, that side's stuck. So I gave that a few seconds longer than I gave this. Super easy to do when you're doing your iron-on. Don't forget to mirror. I have some words. I cut Noel to go on the back of the spine here. one little place it doesn't want to stick. I'm just going to try Cool Peel on it. Just going to give it a second, let it cool. That may be what's wrong. Sometimes when you're putting it on a surface that it's not intended for, cool might work better. Just got a little place where, a couple little places where it's not stuck. I'm going to remove that carrier and heat it just to get it to stick down. And then we won't be pulling on it, so it should stay. So I'm just going to let that cool. I'm going to do the back and then I'll take photos. I am just going to glue this down right here with some glue dots. Okay, so that will be on the front. Then I'll take photos, edit the video, and get that out to you guys. Have a wonderful day.